talk about the volume of a prism. So if you take a look at this slide, and can you identify which of these shapes are prisms? Can you explain why? Take a moment to pause this video and think about those two questions. These shapes are the prisms. Now, a prism is a 3D object with two identical ends and flat sides. So if we look at this, these ends here of these cylinders, they're identical and they're both flat. So here we have a circle on this end, and if we elongated that circle, we'd have a circle on the other end. If you look at this triangular prism, here I have a flat triangle on this side, and if I elongated that on the back, which we cannot see, but we know it's there, there's going to be another triangle. If we look at this cube, here we have a square face, flat square face, and on the other side, it'd be a square as well, an identical square. So let's look at this in relation to volume. So here I have a rectangle. It is 6 centimeters by 5 centimeters. Now what is the area? Well, the area is 6 times 5, so 30 centimeters squared. Now if I take that rectangle and I elongate it to a length of 5 centimeters, my question is, well, how much volume does it take up? Well, the volume is going to be 30 centimeters squared times by that length of 5, which is 150 centimeters cubed. The volume of this shape is now 150 centimeters cubed. Let's look at another one. Here I have a parallelogram, my 2D parallelogram. Well, let's find the area. The area of this shape is 3 centimeters by 4 centimeters. So the area is 12 centimeters squared. Now if I took that 2D shape, I stretched it out and elongated it all to a length of 10 centimeters. What is the volume? Well, I have 10 centimeters worth of that area of 12 centimeters squared. So the volume is 12 times 10, which is 120 centimeters cubed. That is the volume of this prism. Let's look at another one. I have a triangle. So let's find the area of this triangle. We know that's 3 times 4, and we times by half, or 3 times 4 divided by 2. That gives me 6 centimeters squared. Now if I take that triangle and I turn it into a prism with a length of 7 centimeters, I now have 7 centimeters worth of this area of 6. So what is the volume? The volume is 6 times 7, so 42 centimeters cubed. Now let's look at this in a different light. So the volume of a prism, okay? You have to remember that this is also not given on your formula sheet. You'll need to memorize this. The volume of a prism is the cross-sectional area times by the length of the shape. So it's the area of that cross-section times by the length. Now, if we look at this rectangular prism, there's my cross-section. It's a rectangle. And the length. If we look at this triangular prism, my cross-section is a triangle, and we multiply it by the length. And on my cylinder, my cross-section here is a circle, and we're going to times it by the length. That is how you find the volume of any prism. So let's look at a few examples. So let's find the volume of this cuboid. Well, first, we need to find their cross-section. We need to find the area of the cross-section. So, to find the volume of a cuboid, find the area of the cross-section, then multiply it by the depth or the length. So if we look at this, my cross-section in this case is going to be a rectangle. That rectangle length is going to be 5 meters by 10 meters. So 5 times 10 is 50. That's the area. And then I'm going to times it by the length or the depth of this prism. So I'm going to take 50 and multiply it by 3, so that's 150 meters cubed. let's look at another example. Let's look at this triangular prism. We want to calculate the volume. Well, let's look at the cross section. The cross section is a triangle, so we want to find the area of this triangle. Now the area of the triangle is base times height divided by 2, or base times height times a half. So the base is 3 centimeters, the height is 5 centimeters, 3 times 5, and we're halving it. And then we want to multiply, so that's my area, then we want to multiply it by the length of the shape, which is 10. So 7.5 centimeters squared times 10, so we have 75 centimeters cubed. That is the volume, how much space this shape here is taking up. Let's look at another example. Now we have a cylinder. So our cylinder here, okay, has a radius of 5 centimeters and a height of 10 centimeters. So first of all, we need to find the area of the cross section. The cross section in this case will be the circle. And then we times it by the height. So the formula for the area of a circle is pi r squared. So if you take the area of the cross section, which is a circle, it's now pi times r squared, and then we times it by the height. So if we substitute in that information, the area here, pi times r, my radius is 5, so 5 squared. When we do pi times 5 squared, put in my calculator, I'm going to get 78.5398, and it keeps going. And I want to multiply this by the height or the length of my prism. So we're multiplying it by 10 to turn it into volume. Put that in my calculator. I get 785 centimeters cubed. This is rounded to 3 significant figures. Now, last example. Let's look at the volume of a compound cuboid. Nothing changes. You still just need to find the volume, or the area of the cross section, and you times it by the length. So let's look at this now. The cross section in this case is going to be this shape here. So I need to find the area of this L shape. Now to do that, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to split this into 2 rectangles. So I split it down there, and I'm going to have rectangle A, and I'll call this one rectangle B. Now if we look, rectangle A, we know it has a length here of 7 meters, but we need to figure out what this arrow is. Well, if this whole bottom length is 5, and this little section has to be 2, because this section is 2, because this section is 2, so you see how that's all linked? That means this has to be a length of 3. So if that's 2, that's 3, that gives me the whole length of 5. So to get the area of section A, it's going to be 7 times 3 equals 21. Then we have to find section B. So find the area of section B. Well, we know the height of this little section here is 3, because on the opposite side there it's 3. And we know the width is 2. So it's going to be 2 times 3, which is 6. So my total area is going to be 21 plus 6, which will be 27. So that'll be the area of this red cross section. Now, we know that the volume of a prism is the area of the cross section multiplied by the length. So if we look at this, the length of that shape is 5 meters. So I'm going to take 27, which was the area of the cross section, and multiply it by the length, which is 5 meters. And that will give me 135 meters cubed.